We started thinking small scale and we actually went really big scale for us in a very short space of time. The company was established in 1947 by a gentleman called John Morris Buchan, who came from Hawick in the Scottish borders. His family had a bit of history in textile manufacturing. He started up the business in the borders, but then moved to the north of Scotland to the village of Lochcarron, where the local laird was trying to re-establish some of the weaving and textile skills in the area. That's when Lochcarron sort of founded and where our name came from. The industry declined from about the 80s through the 90s, and unfortunately there are very few textile companies still operating. Just over 35 years ago, I came in to help out with the yarn store when I was between jobs. And one thing led to another. I got involved more on the sales side, and having a design background, I started doing the design, and that lent to management roles. I have done everything from putting out yarn for jobs to cutting scarves. Lochcarron Scotland is known as a brand that makes very good quality fabrics and accessories. We have a number of markets that we sell those fabrics and accessories into, and in each of those markets we're one of the top players as a Made in Scotland brand. Our kilt cloths go to kilt makers right across the world. I've always felt it's important that we are responsible in what we do, be that looking after the staff that we have or the environment we live in, the community we live in. If we can all make a contribution, it makes things better. There's no point in putting your hands up and saying, I can't do anything, because everything that we do can make a difference.
I'm Hugh MacDonald and I'm a tuner weaver at Lochcarron. My mother was a weaver. My brother, he was in the mills. He was a twister doing an LNFs, which is another mill that's gone for Selkirk. My work is now come into it where basically everything we try and use nowadays is recycled or reusable. Plastics, waste wool is now getting taken away and respun and then brought back into the mill. We've just had 8 new machines brought in, so with them being new, they should be more economical.
As a team, we've thought about the things we're doing and how we can improve them, and sometimes that might have come from a financial aspect. Sometimes it might have been prompted by how we're using product, where we're buying product from. But as a whole, we've sort of come together and looked at different aspects so that we can all make a contribution. We started looking at sustainability quite a number of years ago from a different perspective of maybe looking at what we were using and how we were using it. We started to work out how we could remove some of the man-made fibres that we use in creating our products. We looked at how we could reuse our yarn before it then gets repurposed and goes to waste recycling. We've done things in a manner that works well for us as a company, that fits with what we're doing. Rather than trying to think a huge big picture, we looked at a lot of smaller scale opportunities, and then we've tried to keep moving them along as we've sort of gone along this journey.
The Net Zero Beacon Business Accelerator programme here in the south of Scotland was brought by SOSE. We've put 6 businesses through the 12-month programme. It is to deliver net zero programmes that also realise the economic potential of decarbonisation for the businesses.
It was great to have a programme that was available to us to learn a bit more about the whole bigger picture. One of the issues we've come across is how to measure things. We can, for example, measure the tonnage of wool that we're converting and then reusing. We don't know what that means, you know, and so to try to get onto a programme that is now actually helping us measure what we're doing in terms of our carbon output, it was really beneficial.
So the main thing that we're looking at is our yarns, where they come from. We're looking at trying to source them more locally if possible, so we've changed our heavyweight kilt fabric to Scottish wool, and then we're looking at what other yarns that we can look at changing as well. We've reduced the amount of yarns that we're using, and we're trying to be creative with the core yarns that we do use, so we're using them in different ways and trying to do different fabrics. When we work with designers such as Vivienne Westwood and Alexander McQueen, it's very important for us to be looking at sustainability. They are also asking us to be quite transparent with what yarns we're using.
If you don't know wool, you just think wool comes from a sheep and that's it. But there's a lot of different grades of wool come from the sheep that are in the Far East, in the Southern Hemisphere. Most of the British wool tends to be too coarse for what you would normally wear as a garment. But we worked with our yarn supplier in Yorkshire and we I've come to the point where we were able to get a fibre that came from a mixture of some British sheep and Scottish sheep. We were able to make that into our traditional kilt cloth. Now this is a very key product for us. It's been one of our top selling products. So to make such a big change was a concern. But what we've achieved over the last 3 years is we've not only moved it from an imported fibre, but we've moved it to 100% Scottish fibre, all coming through the local British wool depot, which is 500 yards along the road from us.
I think everybody can see that there's a necessity for us to pay more attention to our impact on the environment, and I can see a future in 5-10 years where businesses are judged just as much based on their environmental impact as they are on their financial impact. As an accountant, I can see a future where I would spend just as much of my time doing carbon accounting as I do with financial accounting at the moment. When Lochcarron started on the Beacon Business Programme, obviously we have to consider the investment and the potential benefit of the programme. And that investment is both financial and in time. Obviously there's some concerns about how much that's going to impact on the business, but I think already in the early stages of the programme it's clear that most of the things that we can do to mitigate against our impact actually directly save us costs as well. If we can use less gas and electricity in the business, then that directly means that we're paying less money to our suppliers. So all of it makes total sense commercially, and I think we'll continue to see the benefit of it as we go through.
I think we'd like to take further steps down the net zero programme. I think it will be actually much more part of the structure of the company going forward and carrying everybody along with us, because I think the small differences we can make, even if it's recycling the kitchen waste that we have, or getting our staff to think, oh, that goes in that bin, not this bin. It's that small scale that then it lets the bigger things happen around you as well.